Hello, and welcome back to the Sensory Play Space podcast. My name is Uni. I'm your host, and today I have guest Keeley Shoup with me, and we're going to chat about all things Cuddlist and beyond. So Keeley, welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to have this conversation today.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So I'd love to just start with you telling us a little bit about you, whatever you feel like you want to share today. So you can tell us about what you do, what you're into, how you're
Yeah.
feeling. What's
Yeah,
good?
that sounds great. I'll go with my elevator. Here's who I am whenever I introduce myself in like a professional space first, and then we can go from there. So my name is Keeley. I'm based in Chicago. I also travel to West Coast, Los Angeles area quite often. I have been in private practice as a cuddle therapist for about 10 years. So I've been in the industry sort of as it's been named that, as such. I am also the co-owner and CEO of a company called Cuddlist, which trains other folks and certifies them in cuddle therapy, and then also offers a subscription service for members so that their practice has support, has resources, has a platform to list on. This industry is full of entrepreneurs, first of all, and it's not quite massage therapy. It's not quite talk therapy. So all the resources that exists in the world for therapists and entrepreneurs are not quite right for us. So we had to create a whole lot of our own. And so that's what we're doing. We're customizing it to actually fit us in
Mm.
this work. So I love that. And then I'm also on the board of directors for a nonprofit, which does some really beautiful work. It trains facilitators on how to run group workshops that focus on teaching boundaries and consent skills. And that nonprofit is called Cuddle Party. So founded by really brilliant folks, Reed Mahalko and Marsha Baczynski, and also run for many, many years by the brilliant Betty Martin.
Mm.
Who is the board president for a very long time, which we love Betty and Wheel of
We love
Consent
Betty.
work. Oof, 20 out of 10. 10
Yes.
stars on Yelp, no notes. So good. I'm also like a queer, gender diverse, big nerd, Star Trek and sci-fi nerd, and cosplayer. And I just do, I also have silly, fun things about my life as well as being really passionate about advocating for somatic work and touch work.
Mm.
Sensory play, if you will.
I love that. I love it. Yeah, thank you for that introduction. And I mean, let's just get into it.
Yeah.
So, what the heck is a cuddlist?
Yeah, yeah. For sure. It's weird, right? Like it's still, even though I think a lot of people have been, it's funny, 10 years ago, like if I was in an Uber or something, right? And someone was like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a professional cuddler. I would get the jaw drop and the like record scratch,
Yeah.
what? And which secretly, like, I'm gonna be real, I really like attention as a human being, which I
Yes.
also think like, let's Carl Jung this, right? Own it so that I can be responsible about it and not let it rule me, right? Just Carl Junging my life as much as I can. But I would love that because then I knew they were engaged, right? It's something different. What is like the four best, most successful marketing strategies, or have something sexy, have something dangerous, or have something weird, right? The top three marketing strategies or
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, I have tangents. I also have I'm neurospicy as hell, so I'll have to pull myself from my rabbit holes. Um, so I loved that like record scratch. Nowadays, I will say that most of the time when I say something like that, a much more significant portion of the reactions include oh, I heard about that. Or like,
Hmm.
oh, I feel like I
Hmm.
saw an article about that. Oh, I feel like I saw that reference on TV at some point. Because it has. We've been doing a lot of work in the industry. So here's what it is. All that long ass thing to say. Can I curse? Is that cool?
Yeah, go
Okay,
for
cool. All
it.
that entire long-winded thing to say, what cuddle therapists do is we look at someone's well-being or mental health, but we
Mhm.
look at it specifically starting from the body and then going up, as opposed to
Mhm.
talk therapy, which is much more top down, right?
Mhm.
brain, and then maybe your brain is impacting your body, but we're going to talk about your brain. We talk about your body's impact on mental health first and then go to the brain. How is
Mhm.
this impacting? So we just go the other direction. We are very based in things like polyvagal theory.
Mhm.
All the science behind somatic experiencing, we're dovetailing off of that. All of the, I mean, people real, it's talked about and dissected and criticized in good ways now, but The Body Keeps the Score is that really ultimately
Mhm.
famous book, right? It's
Mhm.
all these somatic, these physical pieces to what the full picture of your mental health looks like. And even on just like a very surface level, we know that human touch, especially platonic human touch, very, very explicitly, platonic human touch is exceedingly healthy for us,
Mhm.
boosts our immune system. We are
Mhm.
able to fight off infections, illnesses better when we have touch in our life, when we produce oxytocin. It lowers blood pressure.
Mhm.
It increases our feelings of connection and belonging. It has so many psychological and physiological benefits just from having access to touch. But the asterisk there, and the really important thing, and the reason why people will hire a professional to do this is because it has to feel safe
Mhm.
and it has to be authentic.
Mhm.
Those two people, like there are all these stats out there of like, okay, we'll get your 5 hugs a day and a 3 minute hug will yada yada yada, right? And I'm like, okay, Western world, I hear you. I hear that you really love scientific studies that have numbers. I get that. And like, yes, and the number is less important than the quality.
Yes.
But
I
yeah.
literally watched a video this morning on social media, the bane of my existence,
Oh
going
yeah.
the rabbit holes. But
Mhm.
and it was literally this, a guy being like, "Did you know the side effect, like 20-second hugs?" And I was just cracking up because like we're in this work, we're in touch-centered work.
Mhm.
I do
Mhm.
somatic work. And the guy is hugging with his fists just in such a tight, tense ball. And I was like, that doesn't feel connective to me. Like watching this is making me like, it's making my body tense up, even just watching it.
Mhm.
So I
You want
love,
to hear a funny horror story from with like exactly along these lines?
yeah, yeah.
So years and years ago, this is probably 2017. I was on WGN with
Hmm.
the founder of the company that I own. Her name's Madeline. We both went on there together, and they were doing a segment because in January, I believe, is National Hug Day.
Hmm.
And so WGN was doing a segment on hugs. And oh my goodness. So it was this kind of a thing where they're like, okay, here's a study about hugs, but what does it actually mean? And how, do you know you can charge money for it? You know, like that, like news, clickbaity thing, whatever.
Yeah.
And the people who were introducing the segment, it was two guys. One was the sports anchor and one was the prominent dude news anchor. And I say dude in vibe. I am explicitly using that word not to describe a generic man, but I'm describing a vibe. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Following.
Yeah. Um, and how they opened the segment that we were intending on talking about, you know, the health benefits of platonic touch in a safe container and boundaries and consent. And we were going to like actually have this like, they zoom in, so they walk through a doorway, and you can see on the side of the doorway, it's a sign for a women's restroom.
Oh.
And then they turn the corner, and you know how in some like nicer women's restrooms there is like a little seat,
Hmm.
there's like a
Like a
little
little
seat
vanity
thing.
area or whatever,
Yeah,
like a
yeah, yeah.
lounge.
Like
Mhm.
rarely people use it, but like it's
Yeah.
there and it makes the space look a little bit nicer or whatever. And the bigger guy was sitting on the chair with the smaller guy on his lap. And the smaller guy, I know this is a podcast, so I'll describe my what I'm doing with my body. He has his shoulders up to his ears, right? Uh, look of horror and discomfort on his face. His arms are tucked into his body, and he's sitting there stiff as a board, the most uncomfortable. And the guy he's sitting on is stroking his hair and going la 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 la. Like that is this hyperbolic, cartoonified, so it was uncomfortable to watch. And I think they
Mm.
were just trying to do this silly segment, but everyone who saw it was like, you guys kind of missed it. This
Like
is
that's
just
super
so
cringe.
awkward. It
Yeah.
was the most cringe. And then we were like, because we weren't prepped that that
Hmm.
was going to happen before they turned the segment to us. So we're just sitting there watching on the little monitor, looking at it. And so the camera cuts back to me and Madeline, and our jaws are just dropped.
Oh my
We're
God.
like,
This sounds like a Looney Tune. Like what?
right? Like I was like, what made you all think? And like we were kind of flustered at that point because then the news anchor turns to us and is like, so Hug Day, and we're like, hey, yeah, what we do doesn't look like that. See, I want people to be like we I feel like trying to steer this ship when we were a little flustered at seeing that awkward thing. Anyhow, that just
Yeah.
made me think of like in the world, the perceptions of what would be beneficial touch or what touch is this component of let's divorce it. Touch is just a physical thing that isn't actually attached to the human being and the feelings and
Hmm.
the thoughts and the uniqueness of the person that is
Hmm.
doing the touch. It's so wild. Anyway, thanks for
Yeah.
letting me go on that like weird diatribe story.
Well, I'm gonna try to grab some bits and pull back from there, right? Like I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
that like that's something that's been just kind of like really present for me lately, about like not just about touch, but like the pace at which we move through life and the
Yep.
pace at which people move into and through intimacy. And like what I find really fascinating about like professional cuddlists is that there's an organized space for
Mhm.
intimate touch that reframes what intimate touch is, right? Where many people navigate from I've had many conversations with people where they're like, oh, I don't do intimacy platonically, right? Like I only receive these kinds of touch with my partner. And it's not explicitly sexual touch. It's like, oh, I only hold hands with my partner. I only like have long hugs with my romantic partner. Like there's these list of things that have been almost like scrutinized or like put into these like pedestals or these specific boxes that one like creates, like just saying it very like frankly, it creates like a lot of awkwardness between connections
Mhm.
where there's a lot of commentary, a lot of confusion, a lot of misinterpretation because
Mhm.
intimacy is so far removed from so many people's lives.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like really curious, like what are some of the things that commonly bring people into like cuddle spaces? Because I like low key, like I feel like deciding to sign up to like do a cuddle session, deciding to like hire a sex worker, deciding to like do anything like going for a tantric massage. Like these, like to me, this is very brave, like
Yeah.
vulnerability. It's brave and
Yes.
being vulnerable because you're really putting yourself out there and saying like I really desire to explore more intimacy and to like mirror back something you said. Like, I want to feel safe in
Mhm.
this desire and in this exploration. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, I'll pause there.
Yeah, there's a lot of different reasons that bring people to my door. But I will say the common thread, I think, even in the most disparate of situations or contexts, is that something in their life has gotten to a place of enough lack or enough pain or enough stuck. There's just this point of it is worth it to me to do something scary or brave or vulnerable and very different, very new, not something that all my friends are talking about, well, that they do, because I don't want to keep doing this thing. I don't want to
Mm,
keep and stay in this place that I'm currently. And I that looks so many different ways. Sometimes that's a big hallmark is like relationship transition, whether a loved one or a spouse dies or passes and there's grief and loss, or it's a separation or a divorce, or there's this all of a sudden intense lack, even if it was tumultuous, even if there was tension there, there was still a physical proximity access,
Mm-hmm.
right? That is all that is gone.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone. And oftentimes it was there for a long, long time. And in that absence and in that void, sometimes in the absence of negative things,
Mm-hmm.
right? But it's still something was there. There's a need for gentleness and also an understanding that they're not ready to jump into a relationship again immediately. That's not appropriate, but there aren't other accessible places for the kind of emotional intimacy in our life. We don't form as a general, not this is not a universal thing, but I think as a society, at least in America, I can speak to that, and in many other cultures, we without external unique education or influence, without the something else being brought into someone's world, we aren't forming the kind of deeply connected, authentic, emotionally intimate friendships
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that I think we maybe were once necessities when we lived more communally,
Yeah.
right? When we as a people lived more communally. And so the access to another person sitting with you with all of who you are, not with the person that you're supposed to be, or not with the professional you, or not with the insert role,
Mm-hmm.
insert label, not with that version of you, but just with you in whatever you're actually feeling and saying, I'm here, I'm with you in it. And yeah, you can access a hug. Like it's safe enough with me, and I feel safe enough with you. Big, big point of it too. It's the reciprocation of that. I feel safe enough with you, you feel safe enough with me that we can actually share, and like our bodies are on the line.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different level of intimacy there, and we don't have a lot of access to that. So that's a big demographic. I see a lot of personally, I see a lot of folks who are recovering from different kinds of trauma, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's acute trauma in their adulthood, survivors of different kinds of assaults, or if it's childhood trauma,
Mm-hmm.
developmental trauma. I see a lot of that. I also, some of my favorite clients are just trying to figure out how to create relationships like that. I have a couple of clients who are single parents and they give and give and give and give, or caregiver
Mm-hmm.
tropes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they
Mm-hmm.
give and give and give and give. And then you'll hear this a lot from like moms groups where they're like touched out.
Yes.
But the funny thing is, in my space, they actually aren't touched out. They're at their capacity to give.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a different kind of experience of touch when it genuinely is about receiving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'll have like one of my dear clients who's the most sweet human in the world, um, will sit with their head in my lap while I brush their hair.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll do that for like an hour. Or just run my nails along their arm, just kind of gently as we listen to music or watch something. And it's just that because it's explicitly for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's so beautiful. And it like like I didn't grow up with a lot of physical contact, right? Like so it's super interesting for me because until maybe like I don't know, like 8, 10 years ago, like I always thought I didn't like touch. I was like, I don't like touch, I don't like being touched. And I had a friend group that was very, like, we had like a very intimate platonic connection. And it was such a beautiful period in my life, right? There was seven of us. We'd meet up a few times a week. We'd have dinner. We had like a annoying group text that there was way too much chat. Like it was just so connective. And part of that group was like part of the meetup was we would like meet up and we would just like cuddle puddle and at the entry I was so uncomfortable because I was like, oh my God, like there's so much energy in my space.
Hmm.
And once I like felt really welcomed and held and like safe in that space, it was just like normal to the point where we would behave like this in public and people are like, is everyone fucking? And we're like, actually, no one is that we know of, right? Like, if they are, no one's talking about it.
Mhm.
And it really, that was like so healing for me to be able to like not only feel safe enough to be vulnerable with my body and
Mhm.
to allow other people to see me, to hold me, to like be in my energetic and physical space, but also to like reciprocate and expand like the like connectivity and the love and the care that I actually hold within myself and to have it received and to not have it like rejected because, like, oh, like there's an agenda behind it, and so I love even just like the picture of like, oh, I'm just sitting here brushing a person's hair. Like I was like, oh, sign me up, please.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Something you said really hits. And it's something that I have a hard time figuring out how to talk about because
Mm-hmm.
you said something that I hear echoed a lot. You said, I didn't think I liked touch.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear in so many spaces, oh, I'm not a touchy person. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I hate touch. But do you know what I actually, here's why it's hard to talk because I don't want to discount someone's experience. I don't want to tell, like, I am not in their body. I
Mm-hmm.
am not, like, who the fuck am I to say what you're experiencing?
Yes.
And the other side of that is I've seen so many people who started off saying that exact thing, but what it actually was is I never feel like touch is safe
Mm-hmm.
enough. And I don't think that I'm allowed, deserve, I don't know how to ask for touch on my terms.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Yeah.
don't feel like I have permission to stop touch at any moment whenever it doesn't suit me.
Yeah. I think those are such valid points. And like I was having this conversation about with a friend of mine who I've been dancing with, a partner dancing with for the last like 3 years.
Mhm.
And we have progressed, and it's super interesting to watch myself in my like just life's journey where there's some moments where I'm like the most liberated and the most open and the most like, and people are like, whoa, that's wild, like you have no, like you're so liberated. And then there's moments where I'm like, eat and I'm such a shell. And dance is one of those spaces where I feel really liberated solo dancing. And whenever I'm partner dancing, it really varies. And I was having this conversation with my friend, and I was like, I feel like we had a dance session, and it was probably one of our most like connective and beautiful and easy and like flowy spaces. And I was like, we've been dancing for like 3 years and I feel fully safe with you, right? Like I feel fully safe. I feel fully safe with being intimate with you. I feel safe with being close with you. And over the last couple of years, as I've been exploring partner dance, I've learned that I don't really want everyone in my energy.
Mhm.
And the hard part with touch is that like everyone essentially, whenever there is not an assigned container, when there's not the verbal agreement and the conversation and the slowness and pace, everyone's kind of coming with their own agenda and their own shame and their own stigmas. And so you're like having these like unspoken rigidities where
Mhm.
sometimes like I don't want to dance with people, like I have a resistance to dancing with people because I can feel their resistance to intimacy or closeness. And so it feels non-consensual for me.
Mhm.
And so that was something really fascinating that I discovered. I was like, it's not necessarily that I don't want everyone in my space. It's also that I can feel that other people are unclear about how they want to be close. And
Mhm.
that makes me uncomfortable.
Absolutely. You that touches on so much of like the container setting.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this type of I'm gonna go in I'm gonna get broad and then go narrow again. Have you been in spaces where the response to, hey, let's have a consent conversation or let's have a bit more of a conversation about this is like, oh, that's gonna kill the mood or so annoying or that's so awkward,
Yeah.
right?
I
I
feel
feel like
like at this point in my life, I feel like that's so 1990, but yes,
right,
a
fully
thousand
agree.
percent. Yes.
And I still find these places, like I was in one, I did not realize I was in one the other day because someone wanted me to come and talk to a group, and they're like, "Cool. I think it would be really great if you taught people how to have consent conversations non-verbally." And I'm like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, because when you actually talk about consent, it's really unsexy. So we need to figure out ways to communicate." I'm like, "So I would love for you to come to a different class that I have personally." And like, but the reason I say that in the context of what you're saying is that like the more we can have and be comfortable with and actually genuinely enjoy. Because now I genuinely enjoy the connection of those kinds of conversations because it is just like talking about someone's favorite hobby. Like I am going to enjoy it just as much as I'm going to enjoy someone like saying, "Oh my God, and I loved going to this opera," or whatever it is, right? Like having more of the conversations of like, what are we on the same page for? Do we want to dance and have this be like tango energy, or are we Lindy Hop energy? Like, do we want this to be a really connective experience, or are we kind of using the other person, and this is not derogatorily referencing this, are we kind of using the other person as the prop so we can have this experience that we can't have on our own,
Yeah. Which
right?
all are
And
okay.
oh, absolutely. I actually really like the second option sometimes because I kind of want to be in my own flow, but I'll have more like I don't necessarily want to be really intimate with someone in a moment. I might just be like, no, I'm in my head and I'm in my own space, but I need someone else to, do these things and throw out. Like, yeah, that can be a really fun energy to play in, but if we communicate about it beforehand, then we all know, right? And I think that trickles down. I mean, also, this is my autistic moment of like, but direct communication. But I think that's one of the things that feeds into that, bringing it all the way back around the I don't like touch. There is so much uncertainty in the wildly varying societal assumptions of what different things mean, of what different contexts have different social expectations or what's appropriate in different moments. A lot of people are operating under these guidelines that they think are universal, but everyone has different ones,
Yeah.
right?
I talk about that a lot in my mentorship space, where it's just like I have a group mentorship that I host on Saturdays, and we talk about whatever, but we talk about intimacy a lot. And it's just like every word has a bazillion definitions, right? So I can say intimacy and you can say intimacy, and we're meaning two different things. And in a different moment, we can mean something else. And so it's like slowing down and creating the space to like really understand what someone's words mean, like builds connection. It doesn't bridge you apart unless the agenda is to only take, right? Like if someone's coming in with a mentality that like I'm just here to get something and get out, then
Mhm.
yeah, like it's sure it's probably going to kill your mood because you're having to work too hard to get what you want, right? But I love that you said like, oh, like what is the intention? That's what I heard you say, right? Like what is the intention? Where do our intentions align? And then
Mhm.
what do we want to do with that? So cool. Do we want to just like rub our bodies together and like have our own moment? Or do we want to like merge our bodies together and like entangle our energies and go to another planet, like, and just
Mhm.
having that conversation for me also is super stimulating because one, like clarity feels, it brings a sense of safety. Like,
Mhm.
I can pretend that I feel safe, but my body will tell me, it will respond in ways that let me know if I'm honest with myself that I don't feel safe. But for
Mhm.
me, taking that moment to have these like direct conversations
Mhm.
translates information from brain to body. And I'm like, okay, we're on the same page. Cool.
Mhm.
So then I can move towards physical connection. And so when you were sharing the thing about, like, oh, can we just non-verbally consent? Like it just made me think about how a lot of tantra spaces are run, where it's like people try to fast track into intimacy and try to fast track into being liberated like within their bodies. And I haven't found that that's actually possible, like in a sustainable way or in like a actually like deeply embodied way. I just feel like my experience and my observation is that it takes time and it takes practice to actually build that like liberation in an authentic way.
Hmm. Absolutely. It's also why I really, even before I was involved terribly with the company, why I really appreciated Cuddlist because the cornerstone of the training, and it goes into a lot of different directions as trauma informed part of the training, but it's all about how do you do that? How do you create that? How do you create the shared intention, the space where everyone is really on the same page and everyone has signed up for that page explicitly? Like they didn't just wind up and be like, okay, well, I know what this space is, but I don't know before I came here what this space was going to be, right? Like the beginning of Cuddlist sessions are all standardized in a way where we're doing that process ritualistically together, normalizing it, feeling the agency and like the empowerment of being a part of that process. Well, also, so the cuddlist is like leading the client or supporting the client and modeling that behavior for the client as they're learning it. And then they get to be co-creators of the experience so that everyone who's showing up has that titrated or the level of intimacy that they want.
Mm-hmm.
And we're both defining that really, and we can do it pretty quickly, especially when we have that shared language. And that's a lot of what this is about. It's that genuine connection, but just those skills aren't really taught in other spots.
Mm-hmm.
It's really helpful when you have explicit training on how to do that.
Yeah, yeah. And like touch is a relational practice. And
Hmm.
so I think that that's for me, that's like a layer that's really interesting about professional touch work, right? Is that we, it is a space that people can explore how to shift stories or create patterns or create rituals around touch and connection and intimacy and vulnerability
Hmm.
that has a baseline of safety that varies from the wild west of everyday life, right? Where everyday life, you're not meeting someone that practices this every single day. And so you never know what you're going to get. And if you're not grounded within yourself, and if you don't have strong ideas and strong practice within yourself, like you may respond, like your response will be a question mark as well.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an art form to it. We're the level of emotional intimacy you're getting from the professional is different than in other professions, right? Like I have friends who are massage therapists and they can like check out and think about their grocery list during their,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, right? Or same thing with some of the talk therapists I know. I don't know many touch professionals who can at times check out
Mm-hmm.
unless my client is literally napping, which sometimes happens. There's not really a time where I'm not present, where I'm not, at the very least, checking in with myself pretty frequently of like, am I comfortable with this? Is this anything I need to change? Am I really enjoying this? Are they doing okay? Like I'm always checking in, which is why I have a hard time with the crowd that can't, how do I say the thing? I'm stumbling on my words because the feedback is like, oh, this is transactional. This is so fake. This
Mm-hmm.
experience is so fake and so
Mm-hmm.
transactional. And how gross is it? And like, it's so hard for me to wrap my head around that feedback. Like, conceptually, I kind of get where they're coming from, but I'm like, my sessions, I am more authentic and genuinely loving of the people, of the clients who come see me than I am like the majority of my acquaintances. Like my acquaintances who I meet are like different kinds of colleagues. They're getting a particular version of me. It's an authentic one, but it's certainly not the depth and breadth of who I am. But like the kind of authentic intimacy that I am sharing with my clients is deeper than several of my family members get. Like, it's so meaningful, and there is a transaction involved, but I also want to turn that on its head because there's a transaction involved in every
Mhm.
interaction. I was talking to someone yesterday and they're like, I was really frustrated because this person kept being nice to me and they kept being nice to me. And they were like, how dare you be so mean and rude and a bully? I'm saying this weirdly. The person who was telling the story had just had to do a like disciplinary, not disciplinary, but like conflict resolution conversation with someone else. And the conflict resolution conversation that happened with this other person was around like the other person called them a bully or said that they were mean. And the person who was telling the story is like, I don't understand why they were saying that genuinely. And the person who came to them was like, I am constantly extremely nice to you and I do you a bunch of favors and you never do them back for me.
Mm.
And so it became further and further like the other person was expecting, I am paying you in niceness. For every nice coin, niceness activity, a niceness thing is one niceness dollar, and you now owe me 20 nice dollars back because I have had this entire transactional thing in my head. And the other person was like, I didn't sign up for any of this. Like, I'm not being mean to you. I'm just not doing you additional favors that I'm uncomfortable with.
Mhm.
But you're doing me a bunch of favors you're uncomfortable with because you're trying to extract different things from me. That's transactional.
Yes. Which all of life is transactional, and
Yes.
it's the piece that's important that people selectively bypass is consent, right? And
Yes.
having the conversation, being fully transparent, being honest, being brave and being vulnerable, like that is what leads to deeper connection. That's what leads to like authenticity and intimacy. And that's what actually creates safety. Where if I know that like you are attracted to me and we have a conversation about it and we like set terms around it, like, oh, I don't share that. Like, I'm not reciprocating that, but like, we can still connect, we can still be friends, we can still interact in these ways. It's uncomfortable for people to like even consider being rejected. And so I think there's a lot of like these like workarounds that kind of come up. So yeah, the transactional piece is super fascinating to me because we like as a collective very easily have a lot of judgments around certain transactions and a lot of like acceptance around others.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I agree that they always make sense,
Mm-hmm.
or or
Like,
even rightfully placed.
yeah, it's like you wouldn't go up to a doctor and be like, ugh, you're so transactional. You should just save people's lives and do surgery on people without ever getting paid. It's like, that clearly sounds weird when you say it like that, right? Like, is it just that what they're doing you value differently?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where's that? Or is it because like, or are we just saying not doing something purely from altruism? And then so the transaction isn't about the monetary exchange because we have like I'm not pissed off at bakers for charging for bread because everyone deserves to eat, right? Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
So if it's not the money per se about the transaction, it's because it's not entirely altruistic. Literally like we are a part of a society as a transactional interaction. I am a part of a functioning society and I live in society with the expectation that other people don't murder me daily. You know what I mean? Well, obviously they do it once, but but like if you're living in society, there are transactional expectations you have by participating in that. So everything is a transaction if you're just talking about like
Yeah.
being in society.
I mean, just
So
being
it's like what
alive, like any living thing is there's transaction within it
right.
for sure.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
just the argument is so wild to me and I'm like, how can, ugh, I don't
Yeah.
get it. I don't get it.
Well, I'm curious, what's happening in your body since, okay, so
Mhm.
we have a clarity, like you don't view this work as transactional, even though there are transactions happening.
Sure.
But what's happening in your body? Like what does it look and feel like to be you as a cuddlist? Like what's going
Mm.
on? Give us a little bit of insight. because
Yeah.
I think that part of the like shifting perspective of things is also understanding like why would you want to do cuddle work, right? Beyond, you know, like what is actually happening? What's
Hmm.
as yeah. So like I'll stop my
So,
question
and
spiral.
actually, this is where the money is my favorite to talk about because in every healthy, fulfilling, good relationship of any kind, there's reciprocity, right? Both people feel respected, both people feel valued, both people feel like they can contribute and are contributed to, right? In a reciprocitous, healthy relationship, there is that equal exchange. Otherwise, we're getting into power dynamics, and power dynamics really screw up the ability to consent and have fulfilling connection and have equitable connection, right? So that reciprocity. What the money exchange does is from the beginning, from the moment we are together, me and a client are together, I feel valued. I feel contributed to. I feel like my cup is full. I feel like I am grateful. There is so much gratitude in me that I can't wait to, and I'm so excited to give back. And what that also allows, and so in my body, I'm like, yes, I get to connect with this person, and I'm so excited to do it because I feel full and fulfilled and connected and valued and seen. And yeah, great. And what it allows for the client is then they're done. They did it. Check off the list. They don't have to do anything else. They don't have to do more niceness coins, right? Because they already did it. And so they can fully 100% sit into the experience of receiving, knowing they're not being selfish, they're not taking up too much space, they're not being inconsiderate. None of that applies. They've already accomplished, they've already taken care of their part, and now it's done. Now they just get to receive.
Mm.
It's so good. And so for me, it's like this really beautiful giving back. It's this really clear, it helps me also dive into I can give someone my full heart in that moment, and it's welcome. I'm someone who has a really big who has really big emotions and a really and sometimes a big personality, and I feel the world really deeply and I want to love people really deeply, and that is too much for some people sometimes, and that's very valid. In these moments, and what I feel in my body is I have full permission to lavish this person with care and kindness and love, and it's not inappropriate. It's not like I can just adore the hell out of the person in front of me, and that feels really good to me and in my body. And I get to connect deeply with this other incredible human being because I tell you what, every single human that has ever come into my space, genuinely, the deep, sometimes hidden, but deepest, truest part of themselves is beyond beautiful.
Mm.
And when I get to see that, there's also like a little, I think it's a young part of me that comes up. It like kind of gets a little mischievous. It's like, if I'm one of the only people who gets to see that first, that's kind of exciting. And then I'm like, oh, but more people. I just found this hidden treasure, right? I just found this kernel of this human being that the real them, the good stuff that they think is too much for the world, or they think is too weird for the world, or they think that the world won't love or accept. I get to be the first one to love it. I
Mm.
found this hidden treasure, and then I can't wait to be like, oh, other people need to see this. Other people need to see this. It's like finding, it's like being the first one to find an incredibly new artist, right? Just burgeoning, like everyone can. It's like, that I love. And
Mm.
then they, through the celebration of that true part of them, not the part that they think they should be, or all the insecurities that stack on top of it, just like who they actually are. Then when that part gets loved and attention is celebrated, they're like, oh wait, I can be that in more places and people actually like it. And that feels really good.
I love that. Yes. I can relate a lot to that as a person that holds space and
Mm.
holds like touch-centered space as well.
Yeah.
Um, I have two questions before we wrap up.
Sure.
One I know is it just feels like, like a stereotypical question, right? That I'm sure people are like, okay, we haven't talked about this yet. Why? So how do you handle like sexuality, eroticism in cuddle space?
Mhm. Yeah, great question. First of all, there not every like everyone is also kind of discovering the line between platonic and sexual in their own body at all moments.
Mm-hmm.
So we're never going to pursue or intentionally go down a path that is for sexual gratification or erotic gratification in a session. The whole of your human being is welcome. So we are humans, meaning that there is sexual components to us. So, like for instance, and I'm gonna be use really accurate, really blunt language because I think it's important to normalize talking about this. It is really common for people to have erections in session because their body is conditioned that when they experience touch, it has always preceded sex in their adult life. And so Pavlovian, like they just have a conditioned response that touch will lead here. And so half involuntary, sometimes fully involuntary, that's just simply a somatic reaction to what's going on. That doesn't, and that is a sexual part of their body, right? Or part of their experience. But what ends up happening in a session, because our intention is really clear, because we've both in our integrity, and because we both have said, okay, well, that might show up. And that's all of who we are. So there's no shame in it. There's nothing embarrassing about it. Yeah, great. That's your body. Wonderful. We're not going to go down that path. We're not going to try to have increased sexual feelings or eroticism in that moment. Take a couple breaths, refocus on the platonic nature of it. We can adjust our bodies if that feels more comfortable. We kind of just nonchalant about it, acknowledge it, let it be in the space for a minute, and then reset the intention. It's like, it's a very, honestly, it's a very empowering thing for folks to realize that that's an option for them. Like they're not just at the mercy of whatever their body might do in a moment. They actually have a lot of agency and can choose where they want to go. So that's one way we handle it. I've had conversations about with clients about the whole of their relationship experience, including their sexual experiences, because that's a whole all of who they are, and they're everything about who they are is welcome. But again, just the activities that we do in session are not for the purposes of gratification. We keep clothes on, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm. So this was such a rich conversation. Thank you.
Hmm. Love it.
So for the listeners, for people out there wondering, okay, how can this maybe be applied to their like day-to-day life? If someone is not, they're like, I'm not really, I don't know a cuddlist. I don't, that's not really what I want to go into, but I want to explore more intimacy. I want to explore more touch. What would be like a recommendation or two? Where could they start? What would you say?
There are there are a couple of practical things, but I also want to caveat this slightly annoyingly. Everyone's context is really different. My advice to someone who is extremely isolated would be different to someone who is in a huge household filled with tons of folks. My advice to someone who is who has different kinds of backgrounds, comes from different kinds of cultural contexts, would be really different. So I want to say that if the next thing I say doesn't apply to one of your listeners, then that's totally valid. It's not a you thing. So I want to be really explicit about that. But if someone wants a little bit more touch in their life and they're not ready or comfortable with getting a cuddle therapist to help facilitate that for them, I would say pick something really low stakes, like a high five or a fist bump. Like it could be a handshake, it could be a side hug. Like pick something that's really low stakes for you as a person and try to increase the amount of times you ask or invite someone to do that with you.
Mm.
just slightly. Even
That
if
felt
it's
so
just like,
awkward to me.
yeah. No,
Well,
I love that. Tell me more.
I mean, like, it's funny because I was like, ooh, go around asking people for high fives, like, which is not like, it's like, it's so disconnected from like the amount of touch that I'm able to receive. But I think
Mhm.
that for me, even just like thinking about directly, explicitly asking for this frequently, I was like, ooh, that feels like an edge. So,
Well, I love that. And it's good. Those little edges, I always ask, is this edge a push or a pull?
mm-hmm.
Are you being like, oh, I should do this? That's a
Mm-hmm.
push. Like, oh, I need to. It's my responsibility to do this. Or is this like a, ooh, that's I'm a little nervous, but that sounds interesting. That's a pull.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the thing itself is the curiosity is pulling you towards it as like shame is pushing you. So is it a push or is it a pull? And if it's a pull, follow it. If it's like
Mm.
a, ooh, I'm curious about that, but I don't know if I'll do it. Oh, maybe I'll try it. Like that kind of a thing. And yeah, so high fives in my mind with I see that like someone who works with like in sports or someone who works in a high energy or like hell yeah man and like a high five like that you can just do that a couple more times a day, right? But if someone isn't in a high energy and high like an environment where that would be appropriate, yeah, that could be really awkward. You're just sitting next to someone and be like, "Would you like a high five?" And like that might not feel authentic, right? So that's the other piece that it needs to be. It has to be low stakes for you, but also feel like authentic. So it could be as simple as like if someone does something nice for you, you look them in the eye, offer your hand, and did you ever do the little like I don't know, I call it like the church lady squeeze. You're just kind of like hanging on to their fingertips.
Mm-hmm.
I've done this a lot and like just thanks. Just like a little and like you're just grabbing on like you take their hand very like thanks, a little squeeze of the hand, right? That is very culturally like normal, right? Um, yeah, there's define something in your life that is accessible and then increase it by one
Yeah.
a day or something.
No, I love that. I love it. It was just I was like, whoa, what an interesting response because what I love about that specifically is hugs can be so intimate for people
Mhm.
where I am a hug like I enjoy hugs. I enjoy giving and receiving hugs, but I don't enjoy giving hugs when people don't actually want to receive them. And
Mhm.
so I think that that was kind of the edge that was coming up for me, where it was like, I don't want to go around asking for more hugs because that for a lot of people is like way too intimate.
Mm.
That if I think about doing a high five, that just feels awkward for me. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna sit with this. I'm gonna think about, okay, what's my exploring more physical contact
Yeah.
in this like practice of asking and inviting people to receive or
I
exchange.
almost want a follow up of this. Like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
have you on my podcast and just be like, okay, what's the follow? So, I want to know after you ruminate on it for a little bit, what was your entry point? What was as you
Mm-hmm.
started paying attention just to the passive things each day, like, what do you genuinely actually find is accessible and touch and part of your norm that you weren't even
Yeah.
necessarily like it's just an ingrained part, so you're not really even conscious of it, but then it became conscious because you were looking for it, right? The other thing that I
Yes.
want to offer specifically for that, because like this is to my point, my advice to different people in different contexts is going to look really, really different. But if
Mm-hmm.
I'm just picking something, that's one low-hanging fruit. The other thing that I would say is I've started this practice in myself. I say it to greet every single client, and I also say it in social situations. And the first couple of times it was a little bit weird, and then it felt so normal. I start off with, "Hey, would you like a hug, a handshake, or a smile?"
Mm. I love that.
Mhm. The magic of that explicitly is all three are very socially acceptable.
Mhm.
All three have differing levels of emotional intimacy, and all three have either no touch at all, a medium touch, or a full touch.
Mm.
And it puts like you are providing a menu of things that you are comfortable with, and then they get and they can be excited because even when people say I love a smile, like they're actually kind of excited about asking for it, or yeah, all right, handshake. Like they will make a like it's funny or fun, but genuinely not in like a, I'm making fun of you kind of way, but like oh yeah, let's do a handshake. Like okay,
Mhm.
or oh I'd love a hug. like you get these really authentic responses because it changes a paradigm of like I'm going to assume and then you have to participate with me. It's a little bit more of a, hey, I actually give a fuck about what you want right now.
Mm.
I actually care about you as a person. So would you like a hug, a handshake, or a smile right now?
I love
So,
that.
mhm.
I've seen that with like kindergarten classes, the little videos of the kindergartners like, I want to hug, I want to high five,
Mhm.
So yay, we can do this as an adult, as an adult too. So,
Mhm.
Keely, thank you for being here. Thank you for this conversation. Where can
Thank
people
you.
find you if they want
Yeah.
to get in touch? I'll also include this in the show notes, but just a little space to shout out.
For sure. The company is Cuddlist, so Cuddlist, not Cuddleist. It'll often spell check that, but Cuddlist, like a violinist, right?
Mhm.
And if they want to like reach out to me directly on socials, I'm at your Cuddle Therapist on like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and whatnot. And my name, keeleyshoop.com is my website. So any of those places.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I love chatting with you. It's real
Yes,
fun. I get to geek out. It's
yes,
fun.
yes. Anytime. Let's do it again soon.
Cool.
Okay, talk to you soon.